sun hangs lower when I drive back to the pub and drag myself inside, still too unsure how to break the news. Around this time, the patrons usually start to trickle into the main lounge until it reaches a peak around midnight. Today, however, it remains thin. But considering what day it isn't too worrisome for the kinds of business G runs. He's always complained about the lack of a decent crowd on a week start, although he doesn't really begrudge his customers for it. No one wants to start the week with a bad case of a hangover after all, even him. Which makes the concerned look he gives me come off a bit too odd. With the kind of danger we're in and after what happened to Zach, this swiftly puts me on edge, even before I can fully process and analyze the scene in front of me.
Something wrong, G?
G hums, but there's an undertone of annoyance in it, despite his casual and open movements. And only after he finishes wiping out the tumbler and carefully settling its face down on the table does he give me an answer. The way he stares back at me honestly makes me squirm. Feels like I'm being stared down by my primary school teacher for sleeping in class again.
Nothing much. Monday's still a slow day for this place. But you might want to check on your friends, kid. Looks like one of them woke up on the wrong side of the bed while you were out.
Oh boy. Another question forms in my head along with a small confused frown. Though before a single syllable slips past my mouth, Rebecca's irate voice rings out from some part of the main lounge. The sound of it appears woke up on the wrong side of the bed is a complete understatement.
Alone? You know we can't just go in there. Why did you think Ash stopped me yesterday?
But we don't have any other choice, Becca! There's really no other way. We have to go there. If you'll just...
Isabella, no.
That doesn't sound too comforting. Once Rebecca assumes that kind of tone in an argument with Isabella, it usually ends with one of them walking out or both giving the other the silent treatment. It lasts for about a week at most if it's really bad, which really isn't what we need right now. I hoped the bad blood from this morning would simply blow over after all of us have gotten a decent rest. Turns out sleep isn't just what some of us needed. Even G appears to understand it. In spite of his efforts to look as unconcerned as possible, there's a tense set in his shoulders. A nervous edge lingers in his eyes as it occasionally flickers over where Rebecca and Isabella's voices are coming from. He doesn't want to deal with this, especially at the start of another busy week. Neither do I. Things have worked out well between them before, without Zach or I meddling. But the imploring gaze G directs at me leaves me with no other option. It almost feels like he's guilting me into doing something about it. I hate that it's working.
You know how I run this pub, kid. No fist fights, no cat fights, only good booze, bad puns, and off-key singing. Go fix it before it blows up in your faces. I'd hate to throw two girls out of this place over a petty argument.
It's probably not as petty as Rebecca's already shouting like that, but I give him a nod nevertheless.
Sorry about this, G.
He hums something under his breath for an answer and waves me off, turning away and returning to his work without another word. Even with the lack of a sizable crowd, he likes to keep busy. We're the same in that regard. Can't remain still, after all. Always has to stay moving, doing something, thinking, whatever keeps the brain working. I leave him to it shortly after. Rebecca's voice rings out once again, followed by Isabella's. But part of me wants to thank him for all the trouble he's taken for people he barely even knows. Once this is over, I should probably find some way. In the meantime, I have this immediate problem to fix. Gotta get to this before it turns into a shitstorm both of them will regret. And I know both of them will. For all of Isabella's complaints about Rebecca's bossy attitude, or how annoying Rebecca sometimes finds the other's childlike demeanor, it's a friendship they both cherish in their own way. Rebecca's already on her feet when I spot them in an almost deserted area of the pub. I'm willing to bet my entire life savings that people are staying away only because of the storm brewing. Rebecca can have quite the mood when she's crossed. I can't speak for Isabella. I rarely ever see her seething, but from what I've seen yesterday, I don't think I ever want to be the messy end of it. The way she's glaring up at the redhead from her seat, regardless of how much the other woman towers over her right now, it already says everything. Empty plates have been left neatly piled in one corner of the table they occupy. A conversation that turned sour sometime after a late lunch, I guess. Good thing they've already done, nothing's left to be spilled. Because in the next moment, before I can approach and intervene, Rebecca slams her palm on the table. It sends the silverware clinking sharply against the surface. Isabella flinches momentarily. We both do, though she shows no indication of surrendering in the face of Rebecca's temper. Everything escalates from there.
You've already gotten us in enough trouble because of this letter ghost everything.
Oh my god.
You're blaming me again!
And you can't expect everyone to fix your mess.
You keep on putting the blame on me, but you're the one who didn't listen. All of you! If you just listened in the first place, maybe this wouldn't have happened. But you're too busy acting like you know what's best for everyone, when in fact you're the one who's being selfish.
You're both being selfish. Shut the fuck up. We need to work together.
I'm the one who's selfish. Yet you're still going to do what you want anyway, even if the people around you are already beside themselves with worry. This is how you've always acted since we met, and I'm tired of it. Sometimes I wish you never even came here, because all you've given us is a headache.
Oh, Becca.
You know why I had to come here. My dad.
Your dad has nothing to do with this. It has always been you and your whiny, careless self that has always been the problem.
Maybe I should have stepped in earlier. Maybe I should have said something the moment Rebecca has slammed the flat of the hand on the table or the second I've entered the area. Either way, it's too late to act. Harsh words have already been hurled between the two. Words more cutting than any blade, each and every one of it digging a wound too deep in a person they've been aimed at. For a long time, Isabella sits there in silence while Rebecca stands unmoving, arms crossed and breathing heavily. Despite the lack of words between them, they both vibrating with anger, refusing to meet the other's eyes. Ever so slowly, the atmosphere in the room turns thick and smothering. A strained air no one in the immediate vicinity, including me, dares to break, until the ones at its center does so. Rebecca definitely won't. At some point in our friendship, she's grown to become a woman firm with her opinions. She's never going to back down from this, not when she knows she has a point. Isabella, on the other hand, there's always been a certain stubbornness in her. As frustrating as it is to see sometimes, it's what's gotten her through her life's hardships. Perhaps even the only thing that has. When you have nothing else, people tend to cling on to whatever they have within themselves instead. But she also knows when to withdraw, when a struggle turns useless, a kind of awareness almost second nature to her. When enough is enough, Isabella abruptly stands and marches towards the exit, in fast, rigid steps away from the hurt and painful words they'd let fly earlier. She bumps into me in her haste, the impact nearly knocking her off her feet. Instinct kicks in at the last moment and I reach out to grab her. Out for her, grabbing her arm in a steady grip. Surprise splits across her face, an expression mirrored by Rebecca behind her. Neither of them have noticed me. However, that doesn't mean I won't have things to say about it. Oh, fuck. There's no third option. Fuck. I'm sorry, Rebecca. It's not just one person's fault. Everyone contributed to this. We're all fucked.
Okay.
Rather than answer, she shook her head. Once her shock subsides, she merely averts her gaze and hastily wipes the tears off her cheeks, like she only noticed them in the moment. Yep. Oh, that was a strong one. Then, without another word or even meeting my eyes again, she gently brushes away my hand and runs off, leaving an awkward hush in her wake. Rebecca soon slumps in the chair Isabella has just left, gingerly reaching up to press the bridge of her nose and breathing out a ragged exhale. Arguments like this have always drained both her patience and energy, usually more than her rowdy students do, despite being no stranger to it. It's no excuse for her to say those things, though, and my disapproval must be clear enough on my face. When she finally glances back at me, her exhaustion immediately shifts back to annoyance, her mouth curving down to a tight frown. I cross my arms in response, waiting, a reaction verging on instinctive in the face of her irritation. Regardless of my opinions about this, I don't say anything, not until she's the one willing to talk. Another minute passes while we stare each other down, but eventually she breathes out again and relaxes her rigid posture.
What do you want, Ash? If you have something to say, just tell me, or I'm going back upstairs.
Did you really have to say it like that?
Well, how do you want me to answer her? Do you want me to just let her go there and do what she wants? I know you won't be too happy if I did that.
That's a low blow, Rebecca. Even for you. We all know she wasn't even planning on staying here this long. There was no need to bring it up if all you wanted to do was stop her.
Did you even see how she's acting? She's not a child anymore. Even my students can do better.
Oh my god.
Becca, she'll listen if you'll just ask her properly. I know you mean well and you do have a point, but please be a little more thoughtful next time. Go think about it for a while.
By some miracle, the whole discussion ends right there. Rebecca elects to stay silent, or at least it's how it seems when a moment or two passes and she says nothing. A rare occurrence when she almost always has something on her mind. Only an uneasy atmosphere hangs in the air when I finally decide to remove myself from the room. She doesn't stop me. Instead, something inexplicable flickers momentarily in her eyes. One that quickly disappears until only a vague notion of it remains in memory. But in that one exchange, I've caught a short, clear glimpse of what has shifted, of what's inevitable. So much has changed throughout the years. We will never be the same person we once were. And if it's for the better, we've yet to know. Once Ashton showed up at the pub's main lounge again, he caught Rebecca and Isabella in the middle of an argument. The latter insisted on going back to the mansion, which the former strongly opposed. However, before Ashton could step in, harsh words had already been said. A lull has descended in the main lounge once I return. She's nowhere to be seen. People continue to trickle out instead of in. And by the time I get back, only 2 tables remain occupied. Soon, these people too will be gone. The whole place will be devoid of anyone. Frankly, its current state already lends the place an entirely different vibe. Along with the soothing strum of strings and the steady beats of drums being played overhead, there's a calming sense to this. A far cry from times I've been here before. And perhaps it's for this reason why Isabella has chosen this place to retreat. She sits quietly in the furthest corner of the room, one of the tables set right beside the windows. She usually keeps the curtains closed around this hour, but a small portion of it has been pulled back, revealing the busy streets outside. The late afternoon light spills right through it, outlining her small form and pooling on the surface of the table where both arms rest. In her hands, she flips a piece of folded paper, turning it from one side to the other without any purpose. The letter. A small frown creases her forehead while she stares at it. Yet there's something oddly tranquil in the picture she has unknowingly painted. Something I can't bring myself to disturb, if only for a few seconds. It's one of those moments again. The rare ones. The ones where she's too still, too quiet. A complete opposite of her usual self. But it's these that often leave a mark. Not her cheery disposition or her lively attitude, but these short few seconds of wordless silence, and the softest sighs and the slightest movements sing louder. The smallest minuscule thing that tells you about the person and her strength more than any words can express. It's these that carve a vivid memory, no matter how brief it is, no matter how brief it lasts. She glares at me, annoyed, and just like that, all of it melts away. Gone is the stillness, replaced quickly by the teasing and friendly jibes. Back again to what we're used to. What's easy, what's familiar. Where every truth we hope to convey regrettably goes unsaid between us.
You're going to destroy an important piece of evidence if you keep doing that, Belle.
But she's far from angry. A bit upset, maybe? Who wouldn't be? Well, I do agree with Rebecca. Her words still hit below the belt. Regardless, Isabella doesn't seem like she'll start shouting at me. At least compared to every other person I've aggravated, intentional or otherwise. Some light talk may just do the trick and coax her out of this mood.
Come on. If you keep staring at the table like that, you're going to bore a hole on it. I really don't want to OG a new table. He'll pick the most expensive one and leave me begging on the streets.
She levels a quick glance at me, her expression dry and impassive enough to drain every color out of the room. It's as if I've just told her a terrible joke and she's expecting there'll be more of it. Really now? She needs to give me more credit than that. My jokes are funny when I want them to be.
And I really don't care. I'd even take pictures and post them online. Go away, Ash. I don't want to talk right now.
Yeah, it sounds half-hearted at best. Like, what's happening has already sapped out every bit of energy in her, and all that's left are the words. Pretty soon, those two will lose their meaning and leave a hollow shell in their wake. It's already unusual to see her like this. Everything has already gone to shit. I'd like at least this one thing to stay normal. So somehow we manage. We continue for the better half of the hour, talking, joking, with her short, feeble responses and banter that never goes anywhere. But it's enough. In the grand scheme of things, amidst the chaos and death shadowing over us, it's these little inconsequential moments that matter. It's her smile, her laughter, when it finally rings easy and free from their burdens.
Okay, I have another one.
I don't want to hear it, Ashton. Go away.
I actually want to check something real quick. So Isabella, Rebecca's at max, and with Rebecca, Isabella's at max. So it's kind of interesting that they had this blow up.
No, really, listen. I know someone who talks like an owl.
Will you leave me alone if I bite and ask who?
A pause. And she frowns as realization slowly dawns on her face. Confusion flashes fleetingly across her face before eventually settling on a grimace. Yeah, that was a terrible joke, Ashton. You should be ashamed of yourself. But somewhere, I'm still kind of proud of you because I'm all about bad puns.
Oh.
Suddenly, she hugs her arms closer to herself and looks away, perhaps in her best attempt to stay angry. To no avail. In a matter of seconds, her shoulders shake with laughter she's trying to contain.
You're awful, and I really hate you! Just leave!
It's contagious, her mirth. Soon I'm joining her in it, briefly forgetting every problem that has piled up and continues to weigh down on us. Laughing without reservation or care, until only a familiar warmth lingers, once both of our amusement ebbs away. Somehow with her, these things have always come easy.
Feeling better?
A little. You're still lame.
But you're laughing right now.
Only because your humor is terrible.
Right. Keep telling yourself that. I know it's funny. And you know what? If you've kept frowning like that, your face might have cracked. That would have been really messy and ugly.
If Glarus could kill, with the one she sends my way, I'd probably be dead right now. Seeing it directed my way, it takes only a few seconds for me to realize how she might have also taken my statement. How wrong and rude it might have sounded in her ears, however unintentional it is. I've never been good with words. But that's never an acceptable excuse, is it? Suddenly, taking the brunt of her anger seems less complicated than correcting or explaining myself. Nevertheless, I try.
What? God, crap. Damn it, that was so not what I meant. I was just saying you look better when you're smiling.
Her glare doesn't even wane. In fact, I think it intensified, like a brewing storm. In the face of it, under the sharpness of her stare and her annoyance, I do what any person with a good sense of self-preservation does. Keep my mouth shut and shift my attention elsewhere. The crowd outside looks very interesting today. Maybe I should...
Thanks, Ash.
She utters all of it in a voice too small, too quiet. But when I turn to her, only those words, her gratitude, resonate throughout the room. Not the soft clinking of silverware somewhere, nor the last strains of music fading into silence above us. Instead, it's the meaning behind her gaze, as she holds mine, that lingers. Steady, unflinching, and open, in the same way she looked at me all those years ago, with bright eyes and an expression softening into a tender smile. I didn't understand it then. How easy it is for her to wear her heart on her sleeve. How she never shies away from expressing herself, even among people she barely knows. How she can go through everything without losing herself. Now it's among the hundreds, the thousands that hang unspoken between us. Trivial little things, worth still too big to put into words. Either because it's too early, or because there's never really a proper time. For now, though, this'll do. Until the moment itself dwindles. Until reality pulls us back in, reminding us of the things we've set aside in its favor.
Isabella, about what happened with Rebecca earlier.
I should probably apologize to Becca. I know she only means well. And I said some really bad things.
Corners of her mouth quirks up, almost as if she's too ashamed of the things she said.
Don't worry. She can be pretty stubborn, but she'll listen. Especially to you.
You think?
Because Zach won't be with us anymore. He...
Wait, what?
I-
You're one of the few people she likes.
She won't stay angry for long. I can vouch for it.
She has a good point, though. Hang on. Let's go back to that.
Because Zach...
Oh, they put the wrong voice
Because
thing there.
Zach won't be with us anymore. He...
Isabella freezes. In an instant, the pleasant air around us dissipates. She shifts her attention back to her hands again, both clenched so tightly that her knuckles visibly pale.
I know, Ash. I just thought we'd find something in there. That if I go back, we'll get the answers we need. I found the letter there, so maybe, right?
It's not that I don't agree with her. Hell, I've been considering the same thing. It's the only thing we have. It's the only lead we have, after all. But Rebecca also has a point. I will always agree with, no matter how desperate I am. It's not going to be a simple walk in the park. Who knows what we might find in there? If she comes with me, I won't be able to guarantee her safety. We'll be in even greater danger. Hence, alone. If there's a need to go back to that accursed place, I'm doing it on my own. Whether or not the rest of them agree with this plan is inconsequential. Their well-being is my top priority, and I'm not just about to drag them in there with me. So I tell her as much, despite the determination and desperation in her eyes. Anything to keep her safe.
Forget it, Belle. You're not going back to that mansion.
Yep.
But Ash, what about...
This isn't up for debate. Do you really think they'll just let you in? Do you really think they'll give a damn if you walk in there carrying that stupid letter of all things?
No, but there has to be something we can tell them. Ash, they were with me during the open house. They have to know. They're in as much trouble as we are. They're living in that place. That ghost woman came from there. Both her and the letter. Something's in that house, Ash. And whatever it hides might be the only thing that'll get us out of this mess.
All right. Suppose you do find an answer there. What happens? Let's say that by some dumb luck, you got inside and found something. I don't even have to bring up what they did to Zach. In fact, what they'll do to you is the least of our problems. What if you see her again? What if she goes after you? What are you going to do?
It's not like we have any other choice. Besides, I'm pretty sure you've already thought of the same thing. Admit it.
That doesn't mean I'm going to let you run straight into trouble. What you're planning to do is risky for you. Give it up, Isabella. Zach's already gone, and if you...
Realization comes way too late, and my throat closes up as soon as I realize what has just slipped from my mouth. There was supposed to be a speech, damn it. Words carefully picked to ease people into the idea, especially her, who has always seen Zach as that decent older brother she'd never had, as a family. The way her expression shifts from terror to disbelief and then anguish makes the horrible lump in my throat feel more unpleasant. There's a sorrow in it, palpable enough as the meaning of what I've said sinks in. A pain I can't even hope to understand. One that we'll all deal with in our own ways. I can't even bring myself to look her straight in the eye. Unexpectedly, Isabella merely clams up. No resistance, no further argument like I've come to expect from her. She doesn't even shed a single tear. Uncharacteristic. Just a silence that stretches far too thin, till the air in the whole room grows awkward and suffocating. A standstill that'll get us nowhere. Although, if there's one thing our talk has wonderfully succeeded at, it's making me feel like a total asshole and a hypocrite. And I am, considering my plans tonight. Sure, I can tell her, but what good would it do? I do intend to tell G before leaving tonight. He has to know if he's going to be keeping an eye on them for me. One person is already enough, however. Hell, simply letting someone in on the plan makes me iffy. Broadening that circle and revealing too much would just cause another pointless concern. But someone has to be aware. At least of where I'm heading off to. In case things don't pan out. Expect the worst, even if I've only intended to do a quick survey of the place. In my own words, risky. Isabella doesn't need to be burdened with the worry my entire scheme entails. I like to think that yes, to some extent she understands, even if she does not entirely agree with me. The dilemma's clear in her. Otherwise her scowl wouldn't have a deeper set to it. Her lips wouldn't be pressed in a thin line, and her hand would no longer be balled into fists. She would have pushed that argument. If she doesn't, and I know she has no lack of things to say. Maybe it's because she's already heard the same thing from Rebecca. Maybe my words have made her come to her senses. Either way, it's best that we simply leave it here for now. I've already said enough. I stand up as soon as footsteps and shuffle from the next room, its cadence slow and hesitant. Shortly, Rebecca comes into view, clutching her hands firmly in front of her and sporting the same uncertainty in her face. She casts me a cursory look and shifts a nervous one to Isabella, who studies her with an almost hopeful gleam in her eye. Their fights never did last long.
Belle, can we talk? Alone?
Her interruption could not have come sooner, and I'm all the more glad for it. Whatever kind of friendship I share with the two, this remains something for only the two of them, much like my own with Zach. I'm the outsider. They don't need me here. It's all the reason I need. Muttering an excuse, I beat a hasty exit out of the main lounge and leave them to mend things on their own. Before Isabella can say what she's been mulling over. Before the last imploring glance as she directs my way forces me to change my mind. It's another lasting image that firmly etches itself in my memory. One that spurs conscience, among other things. I just hope I won't regret what I've chosen for myself tonight. After scolding Rebecca for her harsh tone, a concerned Ashton follows after Isabella. He found her alone in a corner of the lounge, upset. Despite agreeing with her, he insists she would only put herself at risk by coming back. Although she acquiesced, dismay was clear in her face. Oh my gosh. Galway Shaw's Monday night crowd, although small and barely occupies a quarter of the whole pub, provides ample enough cover for anyone who wishes to leave the place unnoticed. Just exactly what I need tonight. With the lively music and chatter slipping out, mostly unseen, becomes a piece of cake. Without much trouble, soon enough, I find myself standing outside under the chilly Luxbourne night. A gust of wind picks up shortly after I've stepped out, carrying the telltale smell of an impending rain. I'll give it about an hour or two before it starts. From the looks of it, tonight will be another downpour, maybe even stronger than the one we've had this morning. On instinct, I hunch further into my jacket, hugging its thick material closer to my body while I weave my way through the lines of the empty cars in the parking lot. The letter crinkles in my pocket with each step I take, though I pay it no mind as I hurry towards my car. I've nicked it minutes ago from Isabella's belongings on my way out. If this is all connected, I need this damn piece of paper with me. However ridiculous it sounds, I'm quite sure it won't be missed either, but I can't waste time here and wait for her to find out, can I? 4 hours is all I'm giving myself to get this done. Regardless of how generous that is, each second's just as important as the next. So I hurry, one footstep over the other echoing as I make a beeline for my car. But as with every plan, problems crop up at the last second. It's practically a universal rule. And it does, in the form of a lone figure waiting for me next to my car. Rebecca turns just as I near, the corner of her mouth twitching in a wry smile. She offers no greeting except for a slight tilt of her head. Weren't you talking to Isabella? Even as my pace slows and I look at her with all the unvoiced question in my eyes, she remains wordless, merely throwing her head back and shifting her attention at the starless sky when I come up to stand beside her. Another gust of wind blows as she breathes out a sigh, weary, thick, with something close to resignation. The breeze carries all of it away, while she hugs her arms closer to herself to keep her warm, which raises the question, why she's out here. The air is already heavy with the promise of rain. With clouds obscuring the view, there's really nothing left to look at but a dark blanket of nothingness. Still, she stands here as if she's intentionally waiting for everything to fall. That or she's here for some other reason. But before I can voice a single word, express a disapproval of any kind, she raises a halting hand at me, sharply cutting off the rest of my question.
I'm not here to stop you. Wherever it is you're planning to go off tonight, I won't be able to anyway. You look like you've already made up your mind.
Go back inside. It's going to rain soon. It'll probably be even heavier than the downpour we had this morning. You wouldn't want to be caught in it.
I will, in a moment. I just want to stay out here a bit for some air, away from the noise inside. Everything's been so chaotic these days. This little break is nice, even if it means standing in the middle of a parking lot, of all places.
So, the other alternative is if this is Becca, then who is inside with Isabella?
Getting out of this mess would definitely be better, but hey, you take what you can get, right?
It'll be over soon.
The confidence in my own words surprises even me. How do I know? Why am I so certain? When in truth, what I'm about to do is a last-ditch effort. If this fails, if I don't find anything, we're back to square one. It's the last lead I have. After this, we have nothing else to go off from. Regardless, it seems to amuse her, and her laughter soon sounds above the murmur of the distant traffic and the light draft sweeping around us.
How I wish. I'll be content as long as she stops showing up in my mind whenever I close my eyes.
I think that may take some time. The brain doesn't easily forget trauma.
I can try. But, you know, it also did a lot to us.
Tell me about it. The back of my head's still smarting from my fall last night.
Not that kind. I'm talking about us. As people. I hate to admit it, but this whole deal with the ghost, with the curse, it also brought out an ugly side to us.
Yeah, it did.
To all of us. And it made me realize plenty of things. About myself, about us.
Rebecca trails off. Suddenly, a pensive expression spreads across her face. I've seen it countless times before, and every time I see it on her, it's usually followed by a memory, a silly story, or even something embarrassing I've said from childhood. Unlike me, who would much rather forget, she remembers each of them so easily. And after a short bout of silence, when she smiles, I know this is one of those times again.
Do you remember that one time, back in secondary?
Which one? We did a lot of dumb things back then. Well, I did, but you get the point.
Mandy.
I thought you still don't like her. Don't tell me you've kept in contact with her. Are you guys friends now or something?
Oh, no. We do see each other sometimes. On the way to work or when I go out for lunch, but it's nothing like that. We're not friends. Not in this lifetime. I don't think so. I don't think we'll ever get along, but if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't even be friends, yeah? You stood up for me that day. And from then on, things have changed.
She makes it sound like I'm some sort of hero. Mandy was in the wrong. Of course I'll defend her. No one's going to stand up for her, who else will? Chances are, it would have escalated, and who knows? Maybe she would have stopped going to school or transferred. Any decent human being with an ounce of sense should know better. I acted because I know what I was doing was right. It's as simple as that. Yet she smiles as if it's worth more than that. A fondness that goes beyond nostalgia.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is, this time, I don't want this to go unsaid. You know, just in case something happens. Ash, I've always been in love with you.
Oh! She says it so plainly, holding my gaze in a voice too frank that her admission stuns me into silence. Like the wind has suddenly been knocked out of me in one fell swoop. No words will form, not even a single coherent thought as the meaning of her words bear down on me. Nevertheless, she continues, desperate to express everything she's kept to herself all these years. This is what fondness is. Why, for her, it weighs heavier than any feelings of nostalgia could carry.
Since that time in secondary? Since I made that promise to never leave? I've always truly loved you.
Afterwards, there is this relief, a weight suddenly being lifted from her shoulders after so long. She closes her eyes and lets out a breath. When she looks back at me, though, there's nothing but hope in them. Eyes that are searching for an answer. Facing the sincerity behind her words, I find myself grasping, scrambling for words. Because as much as this pains me to admit, I can't give her the same affection she's asking from me. We might have spent so many years alongside each other. Hell, we practically grew up together. But that never automatically means I'll ever hold for her feelings that goes beyond the boundaries of friendship. I do appreciate her presence in my life. I'm more than glad that she stuck with me even through the toughest moments, even when she finds me difficult or aggravating. However, it's really all there is to it. She's a close, important friend to me, but nothing more.
Rebecca, I
draw in a breath, ragged, uncertain how and which words to put together so it'll hurt her less. So the words they might leave won't be as deep or scar. Though before I can even string two phrases together, she lifts a hand to my mouth and silences me. Smiles on her face, kinder than every single one I've seen from her so far. It's nice to see it on her. Suits her more than the glares or the frowns. But at the same time, it only serves to baffle me.
You don't have to answer me.
Yeah, but you should... I should...
No, I mean, you don't need to.
She knows.
Okay, now I'm really confused. One moment you're saying you've been in love with me since secondary, now you're telling me to shut up?
If you want to interpret it like that, all right.
No, really. Some explanation would be nice, Becca. Because a lot of things are going on right now, and I'm afraid I can't catch up. Especially with this curveball you just threw.
It means what it means, Ashton. You don't need to answer me. I don't really need to hear it anymore. It's not that I don't want to. Believe me, if I were the same person I was before this whole thing happened to us, I'd be elated, excited even. But like I said, I also realized some things, understood myself more. Ash, I did love you. Ever since we were kids, all those times you defended me from bullies. I don't think that's going to change anytime soon, even after this. But at the end of the day, once you take a closer look at everything, it also turned me into a really selfish person. When you think about it, maybe the Ashton I loved isn't the one standing in front of me right now. Maybe all this time, I'm still clinging on to that aloof kid I met 17 years ago. I didn't even consider that you have a mind of your own. That one day, it won't just be the two of us. That you'll find someone else and it won't be me.
I'm sorry, Becca.
I'm not even sure what I'm apologizing for. That I can't return her feelings. Or because I'm somehow holding myself responsible for this, even if, up until now, I have had no idea how she felt. Regardless, she continues to smile through it all.
It's not your fault. Don't say that. I'm the one who should apologize. Since I suddenly sprung this up on you when you have other things to do, I just thought I should let you know, so I can finally let this whole thing go. One question, though. Are you going to tell her?
Tell what to who?
I pause, frowning. A brief moment of doubt, while I try to figure out what she's talking about all of a sudden. When it finally sinks in, though, my bewilderment hastily gives way to utter embarrassment.
Oh.
Yeah, he knows. He knows she knows.
Oh, shit.
Heat abruptly crawls up my face, no matter my efforts to keep it down. In the end, I can only look away from her, afraid of what else she'll see in it.
Did you really think no one would notice?
Was it that obvious?
It was surprisingly easy to tell, but that was probably because I've known you longer than anyone.
Fuck, who else knows?
I think Zach suspects.
He does.
Shit.
You're embarrassingly lame when you're trying too hard. It's almost painful to watch. Don't worry. With your terrible way of flirting and knowing her, I'm quite sure Belle has no idea, even now. Not even a clue.
Harsh, Rebecca. Really harsh. I could use a vote of confidence, you know.
She laughs. Loud. The kind that's free of any burden, ringing above the wind, slowly picking up as the storm clouds approach. With it, however, the awkward atmosphere lifts at last. There's only that camaraderie that we've shared since meeting in that classroom 17 years ago.
I'm serious, though. Tell her. And if you ever make her cry, I'll hit you with every damn history book I have on my shelf. Clear?
Noted, ma'am.
Anyway, thanks for hearing me out. I won't keep you long. I know you have things to do. Just promise me you'll be careful, all right?
She doesn't wait for an answer. Instead, she gives me a push, with a force only heavy enough to throw me off balance. Caught unawares by the gesture, for a few moments, I fight for purchase against my car's trunk, bracing my hand on its smooth surface. When I look up, with a string of reprimands ready at the tip of my tongue, Rebecca's already halfway through the parking lot. There's a small skip in her step, while the breeze carries the light tune she's whistling. On a whim, I let its notes be the last thing I commit to memory before slipping inside my car and driving off. Sounds like a new beginning, more than anything. Another reason to be optimistic. Ashton left for the mansion at nightfall, but when he got to his car, he found Rebecca waiting for him. Oh, okay, I guess time passed. Fearing she might not have the chance, Rebecca confesses her feelings. But before he can answer, Rebecca stops him, admitting she had been selfish, and she was letting him go. She only wanted him to know. Within 10 minutes, I'm driving out of Luxbourne and heading straight for Anslem Village. In the distance, flashes of lightning light up in the horizon, white and sharp against the black curtain of the night. Thunder threatens with a rumble, seconds later, echoing long across the sky. And with one last roar, the sky opens up in earnest. The rain falls in fast, steady sheets. The rain falls in fast, steady sheets, creating shallow puddles on the dirt's path, drenching everything the eyes can reach. Despite having grown up in the city, I still despised the rain. Living here doesn't mean I have to like it. Lucky me, I've reached the mansion before the downpours turned torrential. The long slog from Anslem Village by foot has already been made difficult by the light drizzle inviting winds besetting against my body every few seconds. By the time I found cover under the trees, lining the vicinity of the mansion, my shoulders are already drenched. My hair is also sticking against my skin and out in every possible direction. Thankfully, the letter, taser gun, and gun I've brought with me has remained relatively dry. That's the most important thing. However, those are the least of my problems at the moment. Sometime after the housewarming party, scumbag Wright has suddenly grown a brain and tightened the security around the mansion. Likely because of what Zach did. A guard is now stationed in every possible point of entry. The main entryway, the back door leading to the kitchens. Hell, it's almost a miracle no one spotted me once I entered the property. Although that's probably because I kept close to the forest. While I can always create a clever way in for myself under this deluge, it'll be difficult to do so without making much noise or leaving tracks.
I don't really have the luxury either, do I?
Concerning how off this place feels since I've stepped into the property and the mansion came into view. Every light is off. Even with the security personnel on patrol outside, the whole house itself, it feels empty, eerie, too quiet. Normally I'll pass it off as some kind of power outage because of the storm. It's not a far-off conclusion when this place is almost in the middle of nowhere. However, something just feels wrong.
Something happened here.
Or about to. It's the sole reason why I haven't done anything yet. Simply observing, watching, listening for anything. I might have pressed for time, but I'm not a careless idiot. Although I need a way in, desperately so, moving without thinking will not only endanger me. With so many unknown variables of what we're dealing with, I also have to act on the assumption that someone is always in danger because of this place. I can't act impetuously. As much as I hate Wright, I'm not about to cause his death because of one thoughtless action. If there's a place he deserves to be at, it's in prison. Not a morgue. So when a hoarse and painful sob suddenly rings out above the loud pitter-patter of rain, only then do I stir. A woman. Perhaps a servant? Or worse, Hannah Wright. It's coming from the forest? Just right up ahead, in fact. Not too far from the house. Regardless, I give the place a quick, wary glance before following the noise. Carefully keeping up to the shadows, one cautious step after another. Louder and louder it goes as I near. Until it abruptly turns into a loud, desperate anguish cry. I break into a run. One nervous hand ready on the gun holstered at my hip, the other raised for balance as I scurry across the dense understory. Dead leaves crunch under my shoes, but I pay it no hot mind. There's only the voice, the woman, and nothing. Abruptly, it all stops, and I'm met with a sudden hush. Blank. Empty. Almost deafening in its stillness, even with my labored breathing and pounding heartbeat against my ears. Behind me, another branch breaks in.
Help me.
Fuck. Dread surges within me while I spin around and take a hard step back, ignoring the chilly pinpricks crawling up the back of my neck. But before I can even meet her eyes, the world unexpectedly pitches sideways, tilting till the ground beneath me finally crumbles. My hands fight for purchase, only to meet air. By then it's too late.
Ah!
My foot slips further, and the rest of my body follows. Ooh. We are going to save. Dark spots blur the edge of my vision. Black tendrils twist and coil around my limbs. Soft footfalls echo from the far distance, scurrying, scampering, moving in an odd rhythm with the sharp, piercing note of her laughter. But more than that are the voices, lacing venom inside every crevice in my head. Murmurs that jeer, scoff, and deride. Over. It's because you didn't listen. And over. It's all your fault. And over again. Why won't you believe me? A reminder of what I failed to do, and who I failed. And I'm trying to desperately fix. A scream threatens to burst, but my throat closes off. Ever so slowly, a chill seeps into every nerve in my body, washing away every sensation in me, apart from one. There's only fear. Once again, her laughter echoes, a sound both bitter and unforgiving. It is the last thing I hear before she reaches for me. The ground trembles. The world slows to a stop. Am I gonna find Marianne? Oh, there. The storm had started in earnest when Ashton arrived at the mansion. While trying to find a way in, the detective noted the eerie silence that had enveloped the place. Something was wrong inside, but before he could figure it out, the sobs of a woman suddenly echoed. Half darkness greeted me when my eyes finally snapped open, the soft patter of dripping water somewhere spurring my consciousness further. For a few short moments I remained still, blinking away the dizziness, allowing my vision to adjust to the lack of light and my breathing to even out first, before pushing myself up on one arm and attempting to stand. Turning alone is a struggle on its own. An inch of movement sends a stab of sharp pain right up my arms and my back, giving me another pause.
Shit. I hope I didn't break anything. Fuck.
There doesn't seem to be any injury or a major fracture, although the whole of my back does feel sore and raw. Probably from when I've skidded down prior to landing myself here. A comforting thought. The second attempt comes easier later. though no less painful. And by the time I'm back on my feet, the exertion has left me gasping in short, shallow breaths and leaning heavily on the wall nearest to me. Behind me, a light draft blows in from where I've fallen in, coming in short, sharp bursts into what's apparently an underground tunnel and brings in the fresh, earthy smell of rain from the top side. Regardless, it fails to mask the old, musty scent of the place. A mixture of mold and mildew, dust, grease, and something distinctly foul. Like death. More worrisome than the putrid, festering smell, however, are the cells that line both sides of the tunnel. Under the dim light, I can barely make out what's inside on some of them. But I already have a few ideas, all of which I refuse to delve into at the moment. Knowing how long this mansion has stood. Somehow, no matter how unexpected finding the existence of this place is, it isn't too surprising.
I wonder if Scumbag knows about this.
Probably not. Unless he's also the kind of person who takes joy in inflicting this kind of suffering on others. I don't really think so. He's rotten to the core, but not that rotten. He'll probably balk at this, move out at the first opportunity and have it demolished. The very idea of what has occurred in this place years ago makes me reel as well. I've known long ago places like this tend to hold secrets. This, though, if this is just the tip of the iceberg, I fear what I may discover in the mansion itself and the tale behind that fucking letter. But fear is inconsequential. As unpleasant as the sight of this is, this place might also be the only way for me to get inside unnoticed. Sighing and taking one last gulp of clean air, I push away from the wall and delve deeper into the passage.
Let's just hope it'll be smooth sailing from here on.
Turns out that alone is too much to ask for this early.
Please.
Not 20 paces into it, another sound abruptly rises above my footfalls, rebounding off the hollow walls and echoing inaudibly across the whole span of the tunnel before fading away just as swiftly as it rang. I pause, nevertheless straining my ears for more of it, while I gradually move my hand to my side. Slow and steady, until the tips of my fingers brush off the gun's handle. Although cold against my skin, it's the closest thing I have to comfort at the moment. For a long minute, I wait, holding my breath, watching every form, edge, and shadow at the corner of my vision for any movement. After a heartbeat of nothing, I allow the tension to ease out of me in the form of a long, slow exhale that reverberates around the whole passage.
Who's there?
Hi, Marianne. Perhaps it's because of what has happened earlier and how I've ended up here, or maybe it's because of my training. But in spite of the panic I hear in that voice, I don't immediately answer. Instead, I pull my gun free from its holster and wordlessly draw closer to where the voice rings out once more. Afraid. Frantic. Weak.
I'm asking you a question! Who's there?
It's only after I release the safety do I answer, while continuing my approach in a careful, steady pace.
I think I should be the one asking you that! Who are you? Show yourself!
I can't! I'm stuck in here!
Well, a ghost will definitely not be saying that, or have a conversation like this, or be stuck anywhere. And as if to prove her point, she extends a hand out from one of the cells ahead and waves. Then she pulls back, grips the iron bars, and rattles it lightly.
I can't get out! Can you help?
In 5 quick steps, I'm standing in front of the cell, and sure enough, a woman's inside. Slumped on the floor, holding the bars with shaking hands, clinging to it as if it's the only thing keeping her upright. And not just any woman.
You? McLaughlin?
Same one I met at G's bar 5 days ago. Smashed drunk and babbling her frustrations about her employers.
Holmes?
No, not McLaughlin. McCullough. Marianne McCullough, famous interior designer extraordinaire. Not so extraordinary now, with how exhausted and feeble she looks trapped in a jail cell of all things. Her breathing shallow, and there's a paleness to her complexion. Sunken eyes, cracked lips, dry skin, all signs pointing to starvation and dehydration.
What? How long have you been stuck in here?
3 days? 4? I don't know. I have no idea anymore. I just fell in, and that woman, whatever, can you get me out of here? Please!
In a moment. But here, go feed yourself first before you fall over.
I fish out an energy bar from my pocket and hand it to her. She's lucky I always have one on my person. For sudden emergencies or extended stakeouts, a little sugar to keep me going. Like any starving person, she wastes no time getting a grab for it, unwrapping it straight away and taking in whole mouthfuls of it. Relief washes over her face on the first bite alone, although she's going to need more than that if what she said is true. But for the moment, it's enough to keep her alive. Good thing she seems to have the sense to prioritize survival over comfort, if the puddle on the floor in the cell indicates anything. Without water, the human body can only survive 3 days. No food. And I'll give it an average of 3 weeks, though even then, it won't be a pretty experience. Granted, some have survived longer than that. She's still fortunate I found her when I did. Now to get her out. My bobby pins won't be of any use here, not like I need to. Unlike the ones we have at the precinct, a single barrel hinge holds the gate to this cell together. Even without special tools, I'll be able to lift the door and free her. However, with how heavy it seems, I'll need a lever of some sort to help.
What are you looking for?
Some wood, a 2x4, I guess, a plank or a pipe, anything I can use as a lever. Wait here.
The hallway yields nothing but dust, dirt, and a few rusted chains scattered about. While I may find something in one of the open cells, I'm reluctant to check or even step in. We can't have another person trapped in here. However, McCullough ended up inside.
Well, there's no...
My head snaps back to her. McCullough extricates a wooden board from under the mess of hay and twine near her. Without prompting, she slips it through what little space there is between the bars. In short, it's short, but appears thick and sturdy enough for my extended purpose. Upon further inspection.
Good enough.
I hope. I get to work at once, anchoring the other end of the plank at the base of the door and applying ample force to the other end. It takes a bit of effort, no kidding about the heavy part. Still, a grunt, a gasp, a creak. In a matter of minutes, with a little help from her on the other side, the door eventually lifts off its hinges. It falls to the ground with a loud, ugly metallic thud, but the sound of it puts elation on McCullough's face. She doesn't even ask for help. As soon as she can, she hastily crawls out of the prison she accidentally found herself in. More than happy to get out of it, despite lacking the strength to stand firmly on her feet.
Thank you. Thank you so much. After the second day, I was so sure I was going to die in there. If you didn't show up, today, I don't even want to think about it.
How did you even end up here?
For a second, she appears hesitant, looking away and fumbling awkwardly with her fingers.
I was looking for something. Someone.
Contemplated expression flickers in her eyes, something that's close to wistful, like when a person remembers a memory she's fond of. It doesn't last too long, but it still leaves me the impression that I've suddenly walked into something private, something deeply personal for her. I'd rather not ask.
So this whole tunnel, at the end of it, it leads right inside the mansion?
The wine cellar.
Right into the kitchen, then.
There's a door of some sorts. I don't know. I think I pulled or pressed something somewhere. I was in a hurry, and I'm not sure if it'll open from this side. Hell, this place wasn't even in the floor plans!
What do you mean?
Does that really matter now? We have to get out of here! People died in this place! Kids! Oh God! Kids! I could have shown you, but that thing won't turn back on anymore. It's like it only waited for me to see it before shutting down or something. How long has that thing even been in there? But those poor kids. All because of that thing.
Wait, hold on. What are you talking about right now?
The bloody letter! Ever since I've read that thing, since that day at the open house, she won't leave me.
But it should be fine now, right? I broke it. I broke all of it. She shouldn't be able to do anything now.
McCullough, one at a time.
It's all that fucking paper's fault! Oh, God. Oh, God. Dear Lord in St. Adelaide, bless those poor souls. We're not safe here. We need to leave. If we stay here any longer...
McCullough!
Abruptly, she stops, looks back at me with wild, panic-stricken eyes. I've seen enough of it so many times these past few days, from my own friends even, to know she's seen things, the kind that'll easily make a neat person go mad. And perhaps we slowly are. The longer this takes, the faster our descent into it becomes. I can't even tell which one's worse, death or this. It seems like no matter what we end up with, there'll be something horrible waiting for us. I need to hurry.
Listen, I need to get inside this place, and you're more familiar with its layout. If you can help me...
What? No! Why would I go back? Are you sure you haven't gotten raving mad yet? An exit's right here.
And this business with the letter has to end at some point. Look, I know you're not very fond of Luke Wright.
Damn right I'm not. He can just go.
But are you really sure you want to leave him like this? And what about his wife?
It strikes a chord. She falters, grows quiet as the tension lifts from her and her shoulders slump. I do understand her issues with this. In fact, she doesn't have to go with me, only tell me enough info so I can figure it out on my own. She'd always leave afterwards, be done with this whole damn mansion and let her. The other end of this tunnel leads right into the forest. It'll provide ample cover for her to be able to slip out of the property unnoticed. All the same, she steels herself and squares her shoulders.
Just until the kitchens.
That's more than enough.
She nods, albeit weakly. Then without another word, she gestures for me to follow, leading me further into the passage. After his fall, Ashton found himself in an underground passage when he came to. There he encountered Marianne McCullough, who got trapped in one of the jail cells for several days. The detective managed to free her, and in turn she helped him find a way into the mansion. Occasionally she'll stop, find purchase on the wall to catch her breath, but throughout the short walk she asks for neither a break nor assistance. I suppose that's something we have in common. Eventually, we get to a dead end. Although before I can question her on it, she begins palming for something on the wall, tracing her fingers along weathered edges of the bricks with a frown on her face.
It should be somewhere here, I think.
What the hell are you doing?
She merely holds up her hand, begging for my silence, and continues searching. Then, without warning, a few minutes later, something clicks. A portion of the wall shifts ajar to reveal a glimpse of another room. Bottles lining the walls, liquor barrels for aging. The wine cellar, indeed.
The ladder to the kitchen is on the far end of this room.
Surreal. This is all nothing but a surreal nightmare. But after everything, should this even surprise me? Ghosts, curses, hidden passages. Can't even bring myself to question the existence of this door anymore. Simply follow her to the undercroft without a single question, in spite of a number of them already swimming inside my head. As a kid, I used to crave for this kind of adventure. The stuff of mystery in detective novels, daring chases, interesting cases to solve, suspects to put behind bars, justice to serve. I was blinded, I admit. Now I simply want this to be over. We leave the door open in case there's a need for a quick exit. Especially after she mentions it's only by chance she was able to open the door the last time. We can't waste time finding the switch again on the occasion something goes horribly wrong. There's bound to be, with me feeling this high-strung and tense. I'm not even sure why I thought it'd be a good idea to enlist McCullough's help. Even she's been quite helpful so far. I can't shake off the horrible feeling something's going to happen to her if she stays with me. The lights are flickering and there's webs everywhere. There are cobwebs everywhere. Which kind of tells us that nobody's been down here since Marianne disappeared through here. Even if I'm her safest bet if she wants to get out of this place alive.
You really believe that, don't you?
Oh boy.
Did you say something?
McCullough pauses mid-step, turning to me confused.
I didn't.
You sure? I just heard.
Don't you think I'll be the first person who will know? Look, the ladder leading to the kitchen's up ahead. You might want to hurry. I just want to be done with this place.
See? You dragged another one.
This time, I'm sure. There's really a voice. Well, voices. Despite the look of protest McCullough shoots me, I find myself stopping and looking for it, searching the immediate surroundings for the familiar form of a woman. I don't even have to venture too far from where I'm standing. Just an arm's length away from me, mirror shards litter the floor. And right on the biggest fragment, they speak. All singing the same mocking tune against my ears, letting it echo throughout the small undercraft. Murmurs and laughter, cheering, scoffing, deriding, lacing venom into every crevice in my head, taunting me.
You dragged another person into this, Ashton.
Into another one of your silly little problems.
All because you can't fix them on your own.
You really haven't changed, have you? Some hero you are.
Useless.
Pathetic.
You're wrong.
My mistake lies in this first instance I've answered. The very second denial has slipped from my mouth. Their words have also seeped into my heart, allowing it to prod at and rouse my temper. Despite knowing they are merely doing this to goad me, each word, each syllable trickled into me, spurring the guilt I hoped I'd long buried.
Are we?
Or is that simply what you've been telling yourself all this time?
Something to make yourself feel better, perhaps?
What about Zach? Wrongfully accused. You couldn't even get him out.
Someone's dead because of you!
You're the one who took that letter off Isabella's hand that day. You're the one who opened it.
How does it feel, I wonder? To know you're responsible for all of this?
What do you think I'm doing? Why do you think I'm still trying to fix this?
Oh, but you can't. It's already too late. And you know that. You know all of this is futile.
Just face it, Ashton Frey. You're a failure, and they are the ones who have to pay for it.
A badge and a gun, and you still can't protect your own friends.
Can't even solve a case for an old man.
Can't even bring Luke right to justice.
Can't even keep his own family together.
Wow. This ghost is mean.
No wonder they left you. Before you do the same thing to them.
Mom and Dad are better off without little old you, aren't they? It's a good thing they had the sense.
Pitiful, isn't it? Some detective you are. Some friend you are. Some son you are.
You might as well just throw that rank away. You're no use to people either way.
Shut it!
I hate this. I hate how this monster can easily get through to me. Every weakness, every insecurity it knows. To hear it say in my friend's voice even more so. But what I hate above all of it is...
You know it's true, though.
All of it.
It's why all you can do is tell us to shut up. You don't want to hear a single word, because you're already aware of it.
You can't even admit it to yourself. Who's the coward now?
But no matter how hard you try, you're not gonna be able to save anyone.
Shut it! Not a single word anymore!
It laughs, sharp and piercing. At its sound, something in me snaps. A rage hastily unfurling, red filling my vision, and the next thing I know, I'm raising my hand and something grabs my wrist, followed by a buzz as another voice breaks through the haze.
Don't listen to it!
The fog from my mind lifts. Every sound, every noise returns to me, flooding my every senses. All at once, there's this deafening silence. Slowly, I become aware of my surroundings. Bottles of wine, barrels of liquor, the faint old scent of death and decay everywhere, and a hand holding onto my wrist, as if to keep me from hurting myself. My hands, a shard, blood drips from where it's cut my palm, trailing down my wrist until it disappears behind my sleeve. Not too deep, negligible even. There is a pain, however, a different kind. an ache somewhere else that stems not from the wound, but from every single word it has hit. When I glance up at Nicola, she merely stares at me with wide, horrified eyes.
Don't listen to it! No matter what happens, don't do what it says! It's how it gets us.
My grip on the shard falters, but only after I nod and drop it entirely does she release her grip. Afterwards, she simply steps back and looks away, hugging her arms closer to herself. She breathes a sigh, heavy, perhaps weighted with her own guilt, but this monster might have used against her.
Come on, we're getting close.
She walks off without another comment, but there's worry in her as she gives the fragment one last glimpse. Before he could go deeper into the wine cell, Ashton began to hear voices coming from the mirror shards on the floor, mocking him for his failures. Though before he could do anything rash, Marianne stopped him. Belatedly, he realized he'd picked up a broken shard and... yeah. On the ground, they lie lifeless now. No more voices, no more insults. But even as I walk away, one whispered taunt continues to ring in my ears.
It's useless, Ashton Frey. You are going to die.
And you are going to die alone!
Of fear. One that's been long kept in the darkest place of my heart. One that a small part of me wishes for. The trapdoor swings open without much fuss. It isn't even locked. Probably left open for when Wright asks for some midnight snacks. I make sure the coast is clear, of course, before I pull myself and help Nicola up. The butler of theirs is nowhere to be seen. He's probably sleeping, attending to his master or doing some extra late-night work before turning in for the night. Meanwhile, Wright won't touch anything to do with menial chores, not even with a 10-foot pole. It's next to impossible for him to linger here. No servants. No one. And just as easy as that, we're in. Gently, I close the hatch. If things go well, the same path will be our way out. If our luck doesn't hold, that's not an option now, is it? I have people waiting for me. I really don't want to think about what might happen. Sometimes it's best if you simply revel in the little victories. They're great blessings when everything else is going against you. And in a place like this, fraught with unknown dangers, it's a feeling that lasts only but a second. Suddenly a sob. Ringing out from some distant part of the house, echoing through its empty halls. Beside me, slumped on the ground, pale and breathing heavily, Nicola immediately tenses. Her eyes go wide and she grips the side of the counter with a force that might be enough to crack it if only she had the strength. As it is, she can barely stand. She hasn't fully recovered. Makes sense of the 3 or 4 or more days without proper food or water. And it's this weakness that puts the fear in her eyes. She's aware. If something happens, if there's a need to run, she won't be able to. She's a liability at this point.
Holmes, I really don't think going any further is a good idea. Look at this place. Everything seems fine. Nothing's off. Maybe we should just go? I really don't like the sound of that.
You really don't have to come with me. Just until the kitchen, yeah? We're already here. You've done your part. From here on, I'm going on my own.
Yes, I said that, but...
Can you even stand?
She doesn't answer.
You'll only be putting yourself in more danger if you follow after me. You have an easy way out of here. Stay here. Once you're okay, I need you to get yourself out of this place.
What? I'm not going to leave you!
Well, I'm not taking you with me either, lady. So it's here or out there.
You really are mad, aren't you?
Probably all will be, if no one fixes this little curse problem we have.
You think you'll find something in here? This is just a mansion, for God's sake!
Maybe. It's worth a shot. Besides, if what we're hearing right now says anything, I'd say scumbags.
Who?
Right. He might be knee-deep in trouble and he has no idea about it.
Nicola still appears as if she's about to argue. So instead of more words, I unholster my taser and hand it to her. Standard issue for every member of Luxborn police force, but it shouldn't take a genius to know how to aim and fire one. Even Isabella may just be able to use it without training. Yet, and its interior designer extraordinaire stares at it as if I've just handed her something particularly nasty.
Listen, you want to wait? Fine. I'm leaving this with you. But if I don't come back here within 15 minutes, I want you to backtrack and get the hell out of here.
Are you daft, Holmes? I already told you!
In case something goes wrong, I need someone who can tell people what's going on. Who can tell my friends what might have happened here. They're at the crawl. You know the place, right?
I trail off, letting the meaning of my words hang in the air. I want to be optimistic about this, really. However, I'm going against something almost everyone can't quite understand. I'm just being realistic about my chances. Nicola seems to understand this as well after what I've said. Any silent protest has already died from her tongue, and she simply looks at the taser quietly. After a moment, she just nods. Beyond the walls, the cries continue to grow louder, and I take it as a sign to leave. Without another word, I slip out the door. Like a siren call, her voice beckons. Finding out who that is seems a good place to start as any. I keep to the shadows for the most part. Not that there's any need to. The entire place just feels empty. Odd, when a house this big should have a large staff. You'd think there'd be one or two roaming about for some late-night chores or someone seeking out whatever's creating this ruckus. There's none, however.
Shouldn't they have security posted inside as well?
Unless their security means the butler, though I doubt Scumbag's that sloppy. He loves his life more than anything. Let's see. Yep. Upon reaching the kitchen, the crying Ashton heard from outside began anew. Unwilling to risk a civilian, the detective handed Marianne his taser and advised her to leave him if he didn't return after 15 minutes, even if he himself was uncertain if he would. Probably more than his own life. And the things he's done, he's bound to make more than an enemy or two. He's also the kind who'll do anything to keep himself safe. Alive.
I wonder what he'll say when he finds out that there's something not human living with him in his own house.
Potential dangers aside, being on my own grants me a greater degree of mobility, which I'm more comfortable with. Sure, I could have enlisted McCullough's help. Next to the people who owns this, she's probably the one who's most familiar with the mansion. But the cons of bringing her outweighed the pros. She's better off somewhere a quick exit's in sight. With no tag along, I only have to worry about myself, watch my back. Selfish, I know.
But necessary.
In the same manner this whole plan is, no matter how idiotic going into this is. Besides, I don't really need a guide when the house's layout is fairly simple. Almost mirrored with only a few modifications in the room. Although I've only been here once, I think I already have a good grasp of this place's ins and outs. As long as you can tell which is east and west, shouldn't be too hard to find my way around. After the dining room, the main foyer should be the next thing that greets me. Where the woman's cries are leading me. Honestly, after what happened outside, I'm not even sure I should be trusting what I'm hearing. But with the whole house somehow seemingly devoid of any of its inhabitants, I'm inclined to look into this. More than surviving this curse, a huge part of this is my training speaking.
I just hope this isn't a crime scene I'm walking into.
But nothing's ever simple, is it? Not when you're dealing with the supernatural. Nope. Because as soon as my feet cross into the next room, something shifts. In a flash, nearly without fanfare. Ooh. It happens in the blink of an eye. I almost miss it. One moment there's red. And the next, I'm standing alone in the foyer. For a brief instant, I pause, glancing wildly around the place, blinking twice as if my movements will spur the vision back. Yet, nothing. No blood dripping on the walls. None trailing down the stairs or pooled on the floor. No eyes watching my every movement. Only the same cries gradually growing in intensity the longer I dally, along with that voice.
Mother.
Desperate.
Where are you, Mother?
Pleading.
Mother, please. I don't want to
coming from the same direction I've heard the cries from. Upstairs. The place is not entirely empty then. Better question now is who? Definitely not Scumbag or the butler. I've yet to see hide or hair of them, and not knowing their whereabouts puts me on edge. I have to be careful not to make any noise or be seen. Maybe the wife? Though no one can really tell if it's her, the way the walls echo her voice. Nevertheless, it pushes me to move, taking almost 2 steps at a time, despite the sickening feeling that something's lurking behind every great shadow, every small corner I pass, as if the house has several eyes watching my every movement, as if something alive dwells behind the walls itself. Oh boy. I try to shake it off, but the uneasy sensation has already made home at the pit of my stomach. Dread, and it only grows deeper the closer I get to her. Upon reaching the kitchen, the crying Ashton heard from outside began anew. On alert, he continued deeper into the mansion, even if he was uncertain if he would get out of the place alive. The relative emptiness of the place doesn't help either. Neither does the harsh wind battering the windows, nor the sheets of rain pelting down the roof. For a fleeting second, I find myself wishing for Scumbag to simply show up. I don't get too far down into that train of thought. Abruptly, the crying stops, replacing it with,
Mother, please. She's here. She's here, Mother. She's going to take me. She won't leave, Mother. I don't want to go with her. Tell her to go away. Mother! Mother, she's here! Help!
that can't be good. Adrenaline overcomes me in a rush. In no 2 heartbeats, my feet's already moving, before any sense can catch up or doubt creeps up on me. My hand's already at the holster as I hastily set off to the far side of the hall, one alarmed footstep after another while struggling to keep that sense of panic at bay. A door lies ajar at the end, and coming from the floor above.
She's going to hurt me! Help me!
I do not hesitate. Moving in, despite the lack of light, the steep stairs or the thick layer of dust kicking up with my every step. I pause only a second upon reaching the top. Then, without wasting a second, I push the door open. Oh, Charlotte! She's in the middle of the room, shoulders hunched and shaking. Her hands cover her face as she weeps, oblivious to my presence. It's as if she's heard neither my footsteps nor the soft creaking of the door, continuing undisturbed like I'm standing in the time far removed from her. She doesn't even flinch when I call out to her.
Hey, are you alright?
Mother, I've done it, Mother. Take me with you, please. I can still hear her. She's here. Help me! Help me, please!
Belatedly, I notice the blood on her hands. If it's the same one drenched the whole attic, I'd rather not know. How the whole room has ended up like this is the least of my problems at the moment. Even the single human body doesn't have this much blood. So bodies? The thought sends an unpleasant twinge in my stomach. Does Wright even know about this? He's bad news alright, but this? This is beneath him. He'll definitely balk at first sight of this. Anyone will. Yet the woman lingers here, unmoving by the sight, letting her sobs fill the room, repeating the words over and over again like a prayer of salvation. To whom? The mess of parchment she has left on the floor? Just what the hell is happening?
Hey, lady, are you?
The rest of that question never makes it out. I don't even see it coming. Should have been more aware and on guard, really. But there's little I can do, and a well-placed blow to the back of my knees makes me stumble. The momentum alone sends me reeling. It barely even registers in my head that the woman's gone and the room's as normal as it can be. Not about the pain suddenly shooting up my side when I hit the floor. I don't even get the chance to get my bearings back when a hard enough blow to the stomach causes me to buckle down and land heavily on my knees. Gasping, I fumble wildly for my gun. Although before I'm able to turn, level it, and shoot, a hand grasps my wrist and twists it. Hard. A gasp. A grunt. A cry of pain slips past my mouth. The gun falls to the floor with a thunk. As soon as it lands, a foot kicks it out of my reach and slides uselessly under the bed. Agony suddenly explodes in my chin, jerking loose a sharp cry of pain, and stars fill the edge of my vision. A brief moment of regret hits me for leaving my taser with McCullough, when a piece of cloth closes around my neck. Without warning, my attacker pulls tight. I'm left gasping, choking, clawing for air, blindly reaching behind me as I still try to fight him off and loosen the pressure on my neck. Except any sort of movement only causes him to pull a taunt.
My, so many rats scurrying about in this mansion lately.
That would be the fucking butler. Wrights Butler. Shit.
Tell me, what did you do with the madam?
I have no idea what he's talking about. Did something happen to Hannah Wright?
Let go, you asshole.
Now, Dummkopf, you're in no position to be rude. Last time I checked, I'm not the one breaking into other people's homes. Now answer my question. What did you do with the madam?
The pain rings and resonates through my already sore body. Still, I managed to ride it out and spit a muteness.
You. Keep that dirty mouth babbling and you're getting a knife in the kidney. I assure you it will be more painful than this.
He really doesn't need to threaten me by now. It's all too much to bear at this point. My lungs feel like they're burning with the lack of air. Dark spots begin to fill the edges of my vision. Ever so slowly, the world around me dims. My consciousness rapidly slips away from me. And without meaning to.
Get away from him!
Hearing that voice, it's as if I've been doused with a bucket full of ice with cold water. Familiar. Too familiar. And more importantly, it shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be hearing it here. She shouldn't be here. Immediately, my eyes snap open. And right there, right on the attic's doorway, stands Isabella of all people. A rolling pin in one hand and a standard issue police taser in the other. My taser. She must have borrowed it from McCullough. Where else could she have gotten one? I doubt she's ever used one even. Hell, the way she holds it right now, this guy could easily disarm her in one hit. But there's something in her eyes. Although there's a look of fear in them and her hand shakes, she keeps the weapon trained and pointed at Scumbag's lackey. And trained or not, she does not plan to leave here without putting up a fight, it seems. Admirably, really, but it's just not something we need right now. I need her to be away from here. I need her safe. But the chances of that happening grow slim with every laughter that slips from him.
Oh, this is just getting better and better. The Bratwurst won't be pleased with the number of bodies we have to dispose of today, you know. Tell me, how many of you are there? So I can prepare the proper number of bags.
Oh, so he's not just a butler, he's the cleaner. Damn it. What the fuck is going on? Why is she here in the first place? Did she follow me after all? Who else came with her? Rebecca? Panic surges within me. She knows how bad the situation is. But did she really have to run in here and expose herself like that? Does she even know how to use a taser? For fuck's sakes. More than worrying for my life, it's her I'm concerned about. Getting strangled, dying by choking isn't part of the plan. But her following me here isn't either. This is why I prefer to do things alone. This is why I'd rather be the only one to take the consequences. I don't even want to think about this bastard what might do to her after he's done with me. Though my voice comes off at croak, I try to tell her as much. She has to leave. Stay far away from here and these people.
Don't! Damn it, Isabella! Get out of here!
Another bout of pain erupts in my side, cutting off my words. A cry of agony bursts from my mouth. I can taste blood in my mouth as I heave, attempting to get in as much air despite the towel still coiled around my neck.
Ash?
You're going to lose air quickly that way, Dummkopf. Better keep it shut.
Out! 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 Belle!
Don't be stupid! I'm not leaving you here!
He laughs. Too cruel, too unforgiving. The way each note beats against my ears in spite of the warmth in them sends chills down my spine. This is a man whose hands have already been stained with blood before. He won't hesitate.
I'd follow his advice if I were you, little girl. What could you possibly do with a toy? Just hand it over and be on your way. It'll probably be too difficult for a little girl like you to use.
There's a moment of silence. Fuck, I can barely keep my eyes open. But in the next second, though, I still don't exactly understand what's happening. Isabella shouts. Not a cry of pain. Not a yell of panic. But one that's resolute. Firm. Perhaps in a tone that's leagues fiercer than any I've heard from her before.
Try me! Ashton, duck!
I do. More out of instinct and desire to survive, closing my eyes before my mind can fully process what's going on. It all happens in a blur. The telltale sound of a taser being discharged resounds through the room. The air crackles. Something whizzes by, almost too close to my ear, followed by the thud of something blunt connecting solidly with another object. The next thing I know, the towel strangling me starts to loosen. I collapse on the floor, dazed and gasping for air. The sobs led Ashton to the mansion's attic. In the middle of the room, he found a woman crouched on the floor, crying. Cautiously he approached her, but as he was about to reach out for her, someone grabs him from behind. Ashton attempts to fight back, but his attacker quickly disarms him, looping the towel around his neck and strangling him. But just as he's about to lose consciousness, a familiar voice rings in the room and... From my peripheral, though the haze of blood rushing and sound slowly filtering back, the butler buckles. He spasms once. Then, without much fuss, falls face first beside me, knocked unconscious by 50,000 volts of electricity and a fucking rolling pin. He'll be out for a while. I have no idea whether I should laugh or cry at that. Somewhere in front of me, my oxygen-deprived brain vaguely registers Isabella's form. She slumps on the floor, also breathing heavily. Right next to her trembling hands, both the taser and the rolling pin lie useless and forgotten, while the mood in the room eases. A long, gradual process of tension lifting. For countless seconds, we remains quiet, with only our short gasps and sighs to fill the silence, allowing the adrenaline ebb away and both our breathing to slow. Not a true repose by any means, but simply a brief respite. There's still a curse. We're still inside the mansion in imminent danger. We still have no idea how to fix this. Outside, the rain seems to only intensify. Lightning flashes fleetingly somewhere, white and piercing, and the sky rumbles. No rest for the wicked. I stir first, once recovered, having regained some semblance of sense and strength. Breathing still hurts, but it's bearable, as it's moving. Although every small motion causes a wince, there will be a bruise tomorrow, I can imagine. Retrieving my gun from under the bed is easy, but only with some effort I am able to drag the unconscious man to the far end of the room, snapping one of the handcuffs on his wrist while fastening the other on the bed frame. That should keep him restrained for a few hours in case he wakes up prematurely. All through this, Isabella stays quiet. In fact, she hasn't even moved since. Her hands still shake, and taking long draws of breath while she stares vacantly in front of her, almost as if she's in shock. Perhaps she isn't even expecting any results, spurred only by some kind of desperation. Now it's sinking in. Unfortunately, we need to get moving. We don't have time to wait for everything to register in our heads. Kneeling in front of her, I give her a light shake.
Belle, we need to go. You can't stay here.
Slowly, she starts staring at me with wide eyes. Worry flickers briefly in them, along with something ineffable. Then, without warning, she lifts a hand and she slaps me across the face. The sound of it cracks the air, shattering the silence like fragile glass breaking. Despite the familiar rumble of thunder outside, it manages to ring louder above the storm. I don't even know what hit me until my head was already slapped back and my cheek stings with her anger. And it is anger. In spite of the stillness and the lack of words afterwards. Not fuming, though. Never fuming. But the kind that burns lightly and soundlessly. A frustration instead of a seething rage. One that ebbs just as quickly as it flows. And once the tide subsides, there's only that gleam in her eyes, warm, steadfast, and unflinching. I quietly brace myself with the truth underneath that gaze. It slips from her lips softly, nearly fading under the sound of the rain still falling fast, if not for the weight in each of her words.
What is wrong with you?
Belle.
If your bartender friend hadn't slipped up, no one would have known where you went.
Belle, one person knowing is enough. Any more than that, and
You almost died! He could have suffocated you right then and there, and you could have died. And by the time anyone ever finds out, you're already fertilizer!
She trails off, drags one indrawn breath after another. A brief lull as her frustration finally gives, dissolves into something more pensive and somber. Her shoulders droop, and though her voice rises hoarse and wary, in her next words, there's only certainty.
You count too, you know? When I said that night, when I told you that I don't want to lose anyone anymore, that includes you. Alive. We're still here, Ash. You have us.
And once their meeting fall, roar, it does so not with the force of a dam breaking or a raging storm, but with the gentle, steady warmth of a hearth burning, an ember easing slightly, rising and giving, until all that's left is the truth, and understanding. Not alone. Never alone. It lingers as we both drift back into silence, and her words take root, because in the gratitude that swells after, it's another warmth blooming. Pleasant, welcoming, like finding home, like finding ourselves in the haze of a squall has left, creating something fragile, yet immutable in both of us. It's in her eyes, in the way she holds my gaze, unwavering in the way she carries herself despite sitting amidst the place she fears, in the way she keeps herself from trembling and falling apart. Because fear is inconsequential when people she cares about are at risk. A change. She realizes that now. Holds on to it. Another little thing, another small thing from her that may go unnoticed and pass by quietly, but will eventually amount to a lot of things. Tiny gestures that mean nothing at first, but begin to matter to me one day until, despite myself, a small smile slips from my lips as the same warmth from earlier unfurls in my chest. Unhurried, familiar, and bright from all these years I've carried it, but have never given the word for it.
Stop smiling like that, Ashton! I'm not done scolding you!
But this time they come easy.
I heard all of it. Don't worry.
Are you really okay? That guy hit you a little too hard on the head. Here, let me...
I reach up just as she extends a hand towards my face, catching her wrists in a light grip, drawing it closer, holding her hand in between mine. Although her expression does shift into mild confusion, she does not pull away like I'm expecting. She simply stares at me, searching. For her to allow a gesture from me that perhaps too close tells a lot how far things have already shifted in the past few years. Cradled in mine, her hand still trembles. Most of the tremors have already subsided by now, though I doubt it'll fade away this soon. Even as I trace the lines of her palm in what I hope is a comforting gesture.
I'm sorry, Belle.
For what? Is this about what happened tonight? You can apologize later, when...
No, well, this too, but it's not just about this.
It's for a lot of things. For calling you clumsy, and careless, and a scatterbrain.
Are you sure this isn't a concussion?
Wow, okay.
You would think that, wouldn't you?
Well, you don't usually apologize.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry about that too. For all the times I've teased you and made you cry.
Unexpectedly, her fingers tighten around mine. Her hands falling between us as something tender shifts in the air. Another exhale. Another drawn breath eases out of me, filled with every hesitation and uncertainty. But when I finally choose to break the silence, it's only when I know that what will slip past my mouth is that one truth I will hold against the world.
But for all those callous words, despite all those, there's nothing that I don't love about you.
Aww. I mean, now is definitely not the time for this shit, but aww. Having recovered, Ashton quickly urged Isabella to move, knowing it wasn't safe to stay idle. Without warning, however, Isabella slapped him. Furious at him for keeping people in the dark, she reminded him of what was most important, and with it came a realization about himself.
In fact, those things, I love those. And everything. Everything that's you.
For a long moment, she offers no response. Her grip on my hands merely tightens. Although my heart's pounding hard against my ears, I take a chance and look up. Slightly leaning away, giving her a cautious glance, more than ready to hear her rejection. And it is one, despite the smile on her face. If it can even be called one, of course. There's a pained aspect to it I can hardly name. Regardless of what it means to her or what she intends to convey with it, the sight of it alone makes me regret ever mentioning anything. It's almost as if she's forcing herself to push out the next words out of her mouth for the sake of not hurting me. Not that I won't be able to take it, but if these feelings will only put a heavier burden on her, I'd rather not have said anything at all. As expected, with one last squeeze at the hand cradling hers, she pulls her hand away from mine. When she speaks, though, there's a stark refusal to meet my eyes. Not that I hold it against her. The situation's already awkward as it is.
Ash...
She pauses, biting her lower lip. A small frown forms between her eyebrows while she struggles to find the right phrases to string together.
Ashton, I'm really sorry.
Yep.
Oh, no, it's cool. I was already expecting that. Kind of. But you don't have to...
No, I mean, I can't. I can't afford to think of anything other than helping my family. Especially now that Papa's gone.
Ah, so she's saying it's not that she's not interested, it's just she has other priorities.
They're going to need me more than ever, Ash. I'm sorry. I really can't. Not right now.
I've always known it would lead to this. To some extent, her family will always come first. Who am I to take that from her? It hurts, of course, but the pain eases, knowing that in spite of circumstances, her heart will always be in the right place. And anyways, that's what he loves a lot about her, I think. I think if she had basically said, oh, okay, you love me, so fuck my parents, or fuck my family, rather, that might have lessened her in his mind, because that's one of the things he cares about, he loves about her. Her dedication to her family. So, that she's still the same woman I've fallen in love with.
It's all right, Belle. Don't apologize. If it still matters, that's actually what I love about you.
Well, there you go.
Of course, not that I'm expecting anything by telling you that, but you get the point. Yeah.
He's like, I wanted to stick my head in the sand and just like forget that this whole thing happened.
Thanks, Ash. I mean, thank you for loving me. Even after everything.
Her response is a smile and a soft laughter. Perhaps the sweetest I've seen and heard from her. Just from it, I know nothing will change despite her answer and any lingering feelings that will come from this. And there will be. Lingering feelings, that is. With the way she barged into our lives 5 years ago, I'll probably be enough to leave a terrible impression on anyone. But that's also precisely it. It's people like her that you don't easily forget. It's them that gradually worms their way into a person's life, until the very thought of losing them becomes unbearable. As it is, I'm already content simply staying by her. No grand expectations or hopes attached, just the banter, the small smiles, and the quiet little moments that roar. I love her. But that also isn't all there is to us.
I know I caused you all kinds of trouble these past few years.
Hey, whoever told you I'm doing this for free? After we're done with this curse thing, you're gonna owe me a year's supply of ice cream.
Yeah, we'll see.
Another laughter. This time from both of us. Then she hits my arm with a light punch. Familiar, warm, bright, and hopeful. Much like everything about her. And it is strength enough to keep me going as I lead us both out. Oh boy. Understanding how much she also meant to him, Ashton took both of her hands in his and apologized, and in a rare moment of honesty confessed how he truly felt for her. However, although thankful, Isabella was unable to return his feelings and turned him down. Power still hasn't come back. When we make our way downstairs, tricky considering the stairs to the attic are a bit old. One misstep and anyone might end up slipping and falling. You're lucky if that's all that happens to you. With the stairs this steep, broken neck is a likely outcome. Thankfully, Isabella's here to guide me through the darkness. She knows this place better than anyone, after all, in spite of all the misfortunes it's brought us.
Careful, the floorboards over there aren't very sturdy.
Right on cue, the same board I'm stepping on creaks and suddenly breaks. The piece is falling somewhere with a dull thunk.
Oh, shit. Scumbag wouldn't be too happy about that. Ow, foot.
See? I told you so. You never listen to me.
They renovated the whole mansion. They can't even replace one tiny part of the house.
Yeah, that was my thing.
Why don't you file a complaint to BRC then? I'm sure they'd be thrilled to hear it. You know it was such a rushed job.
Outside, the wind has intensified. Even from here, I can hear the gusts battering the windows in the attic. It makes you wonder why, up until now, the only person we've encountered from this house is the butler. Although to some degree that makes sense, he is in charge of running the place. Where are the other servants, though? In this storm, wouldn't anyone want to stay inside? I like the assumption is they're all asleep. The route I've taken doesn't really pass by the rooms they've likely assigned as the servants' quarters. However, they have also heightened security. I brushed it off earlier, thinking they'll be posted a lot closer to where the master's rooms are. The second floor is devoid of anyone as well. It's as if every inhabitant of this place has suddenly disappeared overnight. More importantly, where's that scumbag? I don't like this. I don't like this at all. The fact that we're here right in the fucking middle of it makes me all the more queasy. And that feeling only escalates once we reach the landing and Isabella swings the door open. She pauses abruptly right at the door that I almost run into her. A look of confusion in her as she looks widely around the place, wordlessly taking in her surroundings. With each turn and shift of her eyes, her shoulders only grow tenser, and a look of apprehension slowly dawns on her.
Isabella, what are you...
We aren't supposed to be here.
Sure enough, when I look up, we're standing right in the middle of the kitchen, pots, pans, and all. In one corner, Rebecca watches almost as surprised as to see us. McCall is also with her. Of course, she didn't listen to me, even if she already exceeded the 15 minutes we agreed on. Although color and strength seem to have already returned to her, enough for her to be able to stand unassisted. The empty plate on the corner appears to have played a part in that. Good news, I guess. As for the other one, however, relieved as I am that she has had the sense to wait and not venture deeper into the mansion, I can't help but roll my eyes at her. Although she preempts me with a reprimand of her own.
Did you really think you could hide this from us?
I had to, Becca.
You know, if Isabella hadn't asked G and that old guy didn't slip, none of us would even have any idea.
So the first thing the two of you did is go straight here?
Of course not, but Isabella insisted.
And it didn't even occur to you to stop her?
I tried, all right. She was out the door before I could say anything.
And how did you guys even get in here?
Both of them exchange a look. One that I absolutely don't like. In the end, it's Isabella who speaks up, albeit with a bit of hesitation.
We heard someone scream, Ash. It led us here.
Without warning, the door behind us slams shut.
We need to get out of here.
Screw right. I need to get these people out of here. Lucky we're in the kitchen, we have two ways out, the back door and the cellar offers. Except the hatch won't budge when I pull at it, and neither does the back door. As if something's locked it firmly on the other side. Rebecca also gives it a few tries, but even with help from Isabella, it won't move. Oh boy. There's a long bout of silence in which we all simply look at each other, likely sharing the same thoughts. We're trapped. Something or someone has intentionally trapped us here. Fuck. that same moment, once realization dawns in, something shifts again. Blood. In every nook and cranny, over every surface and in every inch of the floor. This time, unlike the first one I've seen, it remains, and gradually the whole room begins to reek of that familiar metallic scent. Sharp, suffocating. Around us, every object, including the cupboard, have started to rattle as well. Sounds from outside, foreboding rumble of thunder, and even the howling winds have begun to fade away, replaced by whispers, shouts, and cries of pain. Though inaudible, each beat and note bombard every crevice of my head with vague images and sounds. There's no time to make sense of everything, however. I'm already shouting, fueled purely by adrenaline, barking orders and making a break for the door that leads to the next room, the dining room. Should take us straight to the foyer where the main door is.
Move! Run!
Right in front of us, the mansion has started to change and we are in the thick of it. However, instead of the dining room, like it's supposed to open to, the bedroom welcomes us instead. An image that lasts only but a second before blood begins to seep into the room. Filtering into the walls, trickling from every nook and cranny. Everywhere, furniture shakes and every beam rattles. Before we can even step back from the horror gradually unfolding in front of us, the door slams shut. Yeah, but there's the balcony. A loud thud, bringing a sense of dread and chill creeping up in on each of us. Along with it is another realization. The whole place is reordering itself. And with the door closed tight behind us, showing no signs of budging, even though through sheer force, there's no choice but to go forward and hope to all gods that it leads us to an exit. Until then, running's the only thing we can do, spurred by nothing but fear and a sense of desperation to live.
It's useless, Ashton Frey.
But with each room we pass, it only becomes apparent that the house has no intention of letting us leave. It lured all of us here, and we've fallen for it. Now it's playing a little game with us, a sordid form of amusement. For whom? Their laughters are the only thing we can hear. With every hall we cross and door we slide open, the hope of finding an exit merely dwindles. The gun in my hip is useless here. I am useless here. Some fucking genius I am. Some fucking person to trust I am. All of those? They mean nothing in the face of the unknown.
You finally figured it out. Huh, Ashton Frey? Just give it up. I will eventually die because of you.
And you are going to die alone.
Shut your fucking mouth.
You know it's true, though.
All of it.
It's why all you can do is tell us to shut up. You don't want to hear a single word, because you're already aware of it.
You can't even admit it to yourself. Who's the coward now?
But no matter how hard you try, you're not gonna be able to save anyone.
The more gruesome the place turns, the bleaker our chances simply get. Wails and screams fill our ears as we pass by. Words from a time and people long gone, laced with nothing but pure agony, calling out, reaching out to us. Their voices almost too real, as if we're not the only ones trapped here. But there are others begging for release from this wretched place. Or maybe it's all just for show. A taste of what we will eventually be. Souls forever held captive in a never-ending nightmare.
Mother, I've done it, Mother. Take me with you, please. I can still hear her. She's here. Help me! Help me, please!
This is what the curse is? What it means for all of us? That the letter is not a morbid cry for help, but an invitation? A beckoning for unsuspecting souls to be dragged into this place's horrors? To be put under centuries and centuries of torment and agony? Suddenly, dying a painful death seems preferable, enticing, than ending up here living a tortured existence. Or perhaps it's all the same. Still, hope worms its way into me. Not a usual thing for someone like me. But after going through countless doors and corridors, every little sign of hope I'm willing to cling to. As long as it'll get us out of here We're back in the dining room again. How long have we been running? How long until we've left the kitchen? At some point, I've lost track of time. With the windows barred tight and the sounds lifting in the air, nothing but shouts and shrieks. It's impossible to tell. Not that it matters when its end is in sight. Shelves and furnishings bar the door, each stained with blood and gore, that if the situation isn't as desperate as it is, I'd find another way out. But there's still a gap left at the topmost part of the for a person to go through, as long as you use the shelves to climb.
It's an exit, all right.
From here, I can spy the familiar walls of the foyer. Relief. Only relief washes over me. Although my legs have been strained taut by all that running and every bone and muscle in my body ache, there's only an easing. A sensing of tension relieving. A sense of tension relieving while energy flows through me again at the sight of an end. No sooner am leading us out of it. Isabella helps McCullough first, assisting her up and through the gap before giving a hand to Rebecca. The moment the ladies are in, I nod for her to go through.
Go ahead. I'll watch your back.
Surprisingly, she does that without any protest. Not that there's any need to. Sometime after entering this room, the whole place has calmed down. No wails, no whispers, just a silence too deafening. But I'm not letting my guard down until everyone's on the other side of this nightmare. Safe. For all I know, this may just be a calm before the storm. Without further incident, however, Isabella makes it to the other side and I'm following after her. However odd this hush is, I turn my back from it and climb up. It's a tight fit, but I manage to squeeze myself through. The unease remains, however. Maybe it's the adrenaline still coursing through me, or how easy everything has been up after living through that nightmare, fleeting as it is. But for some reason, something's still nagging at me. Call it a detective's instinct, or my training, or whatnot. I have a feeling something's going to happen and catch us unprepared. Unconsciously, before dropping down on the better side of the stream, my hand shifts to the gun at my hip. Instinct has never failed me before. My feet haven't even landed firmly on the floor when...
Had I known there would be a party in my own home tonight, I would have opened a bloody bottle or two.
Hi, Luke. Together, Ashton and Isabella carefully make their way downstairs. However, instead of a hallway, the kitchen greeted them instead. Before they could understand what was happening, it slammed shut behind them and the whole mansion started to shift.
People these days, in my own home, can you believe it? I feel so left out.
Oh, please don't. You don't want to be invited to this party, dude. The chill seeps into every vein in my body. All of a sudden, every ache, every pain returns to me tenfold, and my knees threaten to buckle at the sound of his voice. Though it appears friendly, I know it's anything but. One does not spend investigating a man like him for over a year and hold a grudge against him for more without knowing everything about him. His quirks, his habits. I'm familiar with all of them. And right now, Luke fucking Wright is beyond pissed. Shifting my gaze upward is nearly too painful, knowing the danger, not to me, but to those who have been lured in here by the curse. A handgun catches my eye first, next to the smarmy smile on his face, while he holds McCullough, Rebecca, and Isabella at gunpoint. It's sight enough to lodge a painful thorn up my throat. I've been too complacent, too focused on other things, that I've completely set aside the fact that Scumbag will not be too pleased to see us here without knowing our reasons. But even with those good intentions, curses, ghostly apparitions aside, we're still trespassing in his home. Question is, if he's still even aware that the whole of his household has somehow disappeared and he might be the only one here. Likely not. Fuck. Even with people he knows among the crowd, there's a significant effort in him not to simply shoot everyone in sight.
And really, Daisy, even you, what would Kylie say?
Luke, this isn't what you're thinking. You have to listen to us. There's something going on here.
Well, obviously, why else would people be trespassing in my home? What about little Lily over there, then? What's your excuse? Checking back if your clients are doing okay? Is that it? Is this what this is? Oh, we're doing good, by the way.
Sir, please.
Oh, please what?
We need to get out of this place. You need to leave.
Not a good enough excuse, darling. You people are the ones who need to get out of my sight. Don't worry, I might consider pressing lighter charges for the woman.
Nah, for the women. That means that Ash is fucked.
Can't say the same for Feathers here, though. But really now, I swear, people need to stop breaking into my house! This is how you want to start the week. Why don't we just go with a bloody massacre if we want to surprise people in their homes, huh?
Casually, he waves the handgun at them as if they're just mere toy. It's a mere toy, and his words are no threat. The safety's off on his. Nothing stopping him from pushing through with his words. Call me paranoid, but at the slight pressure, I draw my own and level it at him, finger on the trigger, ready to release the safety catch in case things go south. He's quick to train his on me, though, and it's just like we're at a standstill.
Now, Feathers. Manners. You're in no position to be pointing that gun at people.
Why don't you put yours down first, and then we'll talk about manners.
Oh, he talks back. The gall! You know, your kind pisses me off so much.
Oh my god, we're going back to the racism. Jesus Christ, Luke. After a long, desperate run in search of a way out, the house calmed down for some reason. An exit was finally in sight. Waiting on the other side, however, is Luke. Shooting him right now would be so worth it with the way he stares at me like I'm a damn pest, but this isn't what we've come here for. I'm not a murderer. As much as I loathe him, I'm not the kind who will kill people in cold blood for my own gain or amusement. The law will bring him what he deserves one of these days. At the moment, however, we're all in the same boat with this curse, and he needs to understand that. The longer we stay here, the more time we're wasting and losing. Something we don't have much time for. Something we don't have much of. But how can I convince him? This scum is so full of himself, prefers to hear the sound of his own voice more than those of those around him, no matter how much sense they make. Probably only one way to make himself listen is if I beg. No way in hell that's happening. Maybe I should eliminate the immediate danger first to disarm him. No, I have a feeling that shooting him is a very, very, very bad idea, especially with possessed Hana in the area. So we are going to beg. I'm sorry, Ashton. You're going to put your fucking pride in your fucking man purse, and you're gonna beg him to listen. But my life's not the only one at risk here. There's Rebecca. There's Isabella. McCullough's here as well. We're all unknowing victims to this fucking curse. I'm in no position to pick who to save and who I should simply let die. I suppose my pride can take a few hits, and I can set aside my beef with this asshole. Taking a deep breath, slowly, I lower my pistol. Though still on the edge and at ready, in case he does something, I do my best to assume a less aggressive stance.
Listen, Wright, I need you to...
You broke into my house, and somehow, you expect me to listen like a good little boy.
Please? Pretty please?
Are you a bit touched in the head, Feathers? I'm not the one breaking laws here.
Look here, fucker. If I wanted you dead, I could have done it so many times already. In fact, I can easily shoot you down right here, right now. And you won't be able to do a damn thing, even with that gun.
Suddenly he laughs, almost howling, in fact. Like I've just told him the best joke he's heard all of his life. The only thing missing is for him to keel over and start rolling around the floor. All while I do my best not to sock him with the sorry end of my pistol.
You have guts, Feathers. You have guts. Did you hear what you just told me? You've just threatened me inside my own house. My own home.
Oh my god. This one.
You know what I'm thinking right now? In another lifetime, we would have probably gotten along well.
He's right on that, at least. I might have ended up liking him if I didn't have Professor Andrew, Rebecca, Zach, and Isabella. One mistake, and it would have been too late for me. With his laughter rings all of those possibilities I could have lived, but have never been given the choice. All because I have other people with me. People who care. A sobering realization. But not so much. And suddenly his chuckling stops. In 2 heartbeats, he marches towards me, grabs my collar, and aims his gun right at my head.
Ashton! Luke, no!
At this distance, a slight flick of that finger on the trigger will be able to do more than kill me.
What is it that you people really want with me? This is the 3rd time this week, and I'm really getting weary of this little game. Did the NCA send you to apprehend me, or has somebody paid you off to kill me?
Okay, wait, hold up. 3rd time. Okay, we know about Zach, and we know about Ashton and the rest of them. Was there a time before that, or in between that? Like what?
Which one is it, Feathers? Mind you, my arm's getting tired. Better answer quick if you don't want to meet the business end of this gun.
Another possibility is the butler asked him where the missus was. So did she just suddenly disappear? I keep my eyes trained on him in spite of the huge threat he poses right now. Because if there's anything people like him, like us, prefer, it's honesty. You don't give that impression without keeping a solid eye contact.
I'm not with NCA. I'm just here to help. There's something else in this house, and we're all in danger. You have to believe me, right? You need to let us go. You need to get out of here before it's too late. If you want to keep your sorry ass alive, you'll listen to people with more brain cells than you.
Why, you insolent!
His finger moves. But I'm prepared, my hand ready to reach up, disarm him, and knock him out. If I have to drag him out of this place unconscious to keep him from suffering the fates of every other person who's died from this curse, so be it. However, before either of us can shoot or fire a shot or tackle the other to the ground, another voice echoes throughout the foyer. A small little thing compared to the storm raging outside. It rings above it, nevertheless causing all of us to stop and turn. Hannah! At the top of the stairs, Hannah Wright stands there, pale as death and expression eerily calm. I can't help but think there's something wrong. My gaze darts around, wary of her. But soon enough, I realize what's wrong when she speaks. Wrong.
Oh, Luke, darling, my love. What do you think you're doing out here this late?
Oh, that timing. Outside, another streak of lightning flashes, and a clap of thunder ripples across the sky. As if this whole thing can't get any more foobar than it already is. I think I made the right choice not shooting that asshole.